overregulation, advisors want to know, where is the puck headed? Joined today by Congressman Spencer Bachus and Market Counsel's Brian Hamburger to discuss just that. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Congressman, talk to me first. Since you've left office, what's been the biggest regulatory change that you've seen?
Well, as I was in office and over the last year, you have too many agencies trying to do the job that was designed for another agency. So you've got duplication. Like you've got the Department of Labor coming in to protect investors when that's the job of the SEC. You have the Financial Oversight Board, which is trying to get into the same thing of a securities law. You need to have one regulator. You need to have a place you can go for an answer. When you have 2 or 3 regulators involved, you get 3 different answers. And the problem we continue to have is overregulation. And I don't think that's going to be solved until we get a new president.
Really? So Brian, what do you think about this issue of overregulation? Is this an issue that's got to wait till the next president here?
Well, I think the congressman is right on the money. Overregulation is one of the biggest things really impeding the advancement of independent investment advice versus these large global financial institutions. And when you take a look at really what the issue is, the issue is you have a group of people who have dedicated themselves to act in the best interest of clients. They're looking to do what's best for the industry. Obviously, they're looking to comply, and regulatory compliance, when done right, becomes an operational standard, right? But when you have one regulator telling you that this is the standard, another regulator telling you this is the standard, and a third threatening to impose yet a third standard, it becomes really confusing, and at some point, you're gonna lose that captive audience, and they're not gonna know what to do.
Congressman, what do you think the chances are that a Republican Congress can address the issue of investment advisor examinations?
I'm not sure that there is a real substantial problem with financial advisors today. Now, let me give you an example of why. The state regulators, they've done 10,000 examinations. Of that number, they have found that the record keeping could be better, and you need to keep a record, document it. They found that there were inconsistencies between the agreement with the client and what was filed with the regulators. They filed failures to amend the ADVs, which is your thing you file with the regulators. But what they hadn't found, they have not found almost no instances of fraud among regulated financial advisors. They found even less than 4% of their examinations did they even question investment advice is maybe not appropriate. 4% of the industry. Now, what if you took another industry, the numbers would be higher. When you say, well, out of 100 examined, you found 70% had some deficiency. But it may have simply been a failure to update a regulatory filing. You were not doing anything different. You changed your fee arrangement with the client, but you just simply, you waited a few months to file that thing. Or as simple as this, as simple as one of your clients moved to Texas and you didn't file with the state of Texas, even though your client moved from Missouri to Texas.
So Brian, what do you think about the status quo with this? Do you agree with what the congressman's saying?
What we're going to find is that we can't start with the end in mind, right? We can't start by saying there is a problem with investment advisor examinations, let's go about fixing it. What we have to first do is we have to be intelligent about this, and let's identify, as the congressman referenced, is there a problem with investment advisor examinations, and what is the most effective way that we can go about resolving it? But where I think we went off the rails is the SEC started to hire an awful lot of alumni from FINRA, right? And so we starting with the end in mind, which is FINRA examines broker-dealers every year, so that must be the appropriate frequency for investment advisors. I hate to break news for you, but FINRA doesn't do a great job of regulating or examining those broker-dealers.
Going off what Brian's saying, focus on the complaints. For instance, with Madoff, there were complaints. There were people making complaints, but he was a powerful sort of politically untouchable. It was simply a lack of expertise, or there were all sorts of examinations, but the expertise wasn't there. He was reporting $100 billion worth of transactions as an investment advisor, all handled by the broker-dealer, but there were only $50 billion worth of transactions. I mean, somewhere 100 billion, 50 billion, somebody should have said, here's a problem. The regulations are in place today. Don't fight the last war. There are enough problems out there. I see the problems are with the Financial Oversight Board beginning to stick its into mutual funds and others, another layer. I see the bank regulators trying to be security regulators. But then again, I see the Federal Reserve being attacked by some of my Republican colleagues wanting to take some of their independence away. Now, they don't say that, but if you increase, if you start auditing them, if you start meddling, if you ask for too much transparency where they can't have private discussions, you politicize the Fed, and that would be a disaster for our country.
And the irony of the whole thing is you don't have securities regulators really engage in all that much securities regulation.
You're absolutely right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking some time. Some great insights, and thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
For Investment News, I'm Matt Acker.